Global Management Monitoring as part of the NSE 5. This is really brief because it doesn't really get into a lot of details on this. Reason being is we're going to start talking about some things that not everybody uses. So we're going to discuss some of the different management extended applications, I think is what it's called. Some different things that you're going to see inside the 40 Manager that it can do if you have purchased that product. And when I say purchase that product, a lot of times what that really means is, did you buy the license? It's already there. You just have to buy the license to turn it on. So in that, you're looking at your global ADOM, and we've seen this when you open up your global ADOM, all the different paints, all the different 40 Manager paints. So there's security fabric view inside the 40 Manager. There's some different types of technology there, which we're going to discuss. And then there's a couple of MEAs. We're going to talk about those MEAs and management extensions that we're going to talk about and some of the requirements for the connectivity to be able to do that. So global policies, as we've talked about several times now, is shared among all ADOMs. So global objects, global policies, and objects are shared. So if we look here, we have 140 Manager, and we have a global. And now inside the global, we can have different types of policies and objects. So we have store 1, store 2, data center 1, 2, and 3, customer 1, 2, and 3. So we have global policies that can cover everything. Then we can also isolate it down to our individual needs. So this is what you're going to see typically inside of a business. You have a 40 Manager. So we're controlling maybe business A has 2 stores. We have our data centers, and then we have our customers. And you will really do this a lot because what you want to do is isolate your networks. This is a perfect example of it right here. We're isolating our stores from our data centers to our customers. I can't tell you how many calls I've been on because they have had flat networks and customer 3 had direct connectivity to the data center, and Joe Schmuckatelli in the back office brought his own device in. They allowed him to do that. There was no protection on it. His device had a virus or some type of backdoor. A hacker came in, used some type of privilege escalation, was able to compromise the DCs, and then encrypt the data, and now you have a ransomware attack. This is real. I do this all the time. This here is why you segregate your networks. So right here, if somebody in customer 3 got hammered, in theory, you want to keep it isolated to customer 3. This is where all this comes into play and why it comes into play. So our global ADOM, we see here we got 2 global packages. Global package 1 goes to the top 2. Global package 2 goes to the bottom 1. So this is just standard what we've been talking about the entire time. Now, start talking about headers and footers. This is our global policies, headers and footers. So we want to switch our global database ADOM, and we want to create a header. This is policy at the top of the package in the individual ADOM. This happens first. When you look at your policies, everything starts from the top down. So if you create a header, this is from the top down. Maybe this is our blacklist. Maybe this is our whitelist for whatever reason. Maybe we don't subscribe to web filtering, so we do all of our web filtering manually inside of our FortiGate based upon our global policy. And you can do that here. I've seen some place do that. Your footer is at the bottom. So one of the things I see common with the footer is a deny any. Some of you are going to say, well, there's a default deny any. You are absolutely correct, but here's the deal. The default any is not locked. It's just dropped. So anytime something happens and you need to go see what happened on that default any, if you are not logging, you can't see it. So what you do is you do a deny any at the end and you log it. This makes it very easy where if you created a policy and you said, hey, permit 10.10.10.10 to 10.10.20.10, it doesn't work. Well, if it was just a default deny, it wouldn't be in the logs. If it is in the deny any at the end, it's being logged, you can go at the end and go, oh, it hit the deny any, which means it did not hit a valid rule. So one of the big things that I see with the footer, that is the big one right there, comment. Different types of VPN, different types of managers. VPN manager. Simplifies administration of multiple IPsec VPNs. This is not SSL VPNs. This is your IPsec stuff, your site-to-site stuff. APs, so if you have different types of access points, wireless, you have your 40 switch templates and VLANs. So VLANs layer 2, switching layer 2, that can be managed with that type of manager pane. And then you have your extended management with what they call your 40 extender. Your fabric view, security fabric, if we look here, we have multiple things configured, right? So what we do here with our security fabric is we start generating ratings. And this allows us to go in and look and say, is this secure, unsecure? What does FortiGate think is secure? What, potential recommendations, things along that lines. 3 major scorecards for your security fabric rating: your security posture, your fabric covering, and your optimization. This provides an executive summary of the security focus. Executive summary is the key, because this is just giving some of the higher ups something to look at so that they can go have a meeting and discuss amongst themselves what the security posture is potentially, so that they can try to make some type of decision, especially like budget, things along that lines. So we don't, as techs, we don't look at this a whole lot. We are more down in the weeds. This is more of your 9-mile overview. And here is your fabric topology. So this is showing our security fabric here, some of the different ratings, some of the different things we can look at. And this is a GUI that we can send to somebody. We can screenshot this, send it off, and you'll typically screenshot this, send it off. And if it is a non-technical person, you will have a call with them to explain to them what this really means. If you have a manager and leadership that is on the technical side, they will grab this and run with it and say, thank you very much for the information. Now, your management extension applications, your MEAs, these allow you to do things like your SD-WAN, your SOAR, your AI, your Authenticator, your FortiPortal, all this other type stuff. This is not necessarily enabled by default. So SD-WAN, I see that a lot, software-defined wide area network. So I see this a lot being used nowadays. This is pretty common. And your SOAR option for your authentication. Those are 2 that I see quite a bit. But again, if you're not using this, they're available, but they're not, basically they're not turned up yet until you get in and say, I need to use this, purchase a license or whatever. Now, to do these, you have to have minimum memory or CPUs, because these can be memory intensive and cut down on the functionality and really the performance of your FortiManager, which in turn could potentially hurt the functionality and security posture of your FortiGate devices. So your FortiManager uses 443 or 4443 to connect to the FortiNet registry. So this is connecting up to the FortiNet registry on the net, so that you can download your MEA. So if you're going to configure these, what you're going to do is your FortiManager has to have access out to the internet, to the FortiNet registry on those 2 ports to download the MEA. The MEA, while the GUI may be there when you first initially log in, the GUI pane, I should say, it is not configured and downloaded to your device. You have to configure, open it up, and download it. Admins with super user profiles can do this. Some MEAs require read-write JSON APIs, so your application programming interfaces. And RAM and CPU are capped at 50% for an MEA so that they do not interfere with any functions of your security devices. So just want to kind of give you a quick rundown on that. Some of the things you can do, some of the limits, some of the connectivity, things like that. It's not really that big of a deal, but you will see this occasionally out in the field, especially if you're in a large environment where you're going to start doing some of this more advanced stuff. If you're in a smaller environment, your internet connectivity, your endpoints, your WAN connectivity, things like that might be handled by your local ISP, things along that lines. But if you're larger and you're going to configure that yourself, this is where you would do this. And remember, the MEAs are not downloaded on your device. You will have to log in, connect to the FortiNet and FortiNet registry and download them. But with that, guys, thanks for stopping out. We'll get to the next slide.